Have you ever wondered about the powerful gods who ruled the wild, icy lands of the north? We're talking about the Vikings deities, a family of gods as complex and dangerous as the world they inhabited. Today, we journey to Asgard to uncover the stories of its three most famous residents: Odin, the wise all-father Thor, the mighty god of thunder, and Loki, the cunning god of mischief. These aren't just characters from comic books, they are figures of immense power, deep flaws, and epic tales that have fascinated people for centuries. Join us as we explore the power and peril of the Norse gods. Let's start at the top, with the king of the gods himself, Odin. But don't picture a benevolent, gentle ruler. Odin is a god of contradictions. He's the Allfather, the god of wisdom, poetry, and magic, but also the god of war and death. His thirst for knowledge was insatiable and often came at a great personal cost. To gain cosmic wisdom, he famously hung himself from Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 days and 9 nights, pierced by his own spear. In another quest for insight, he sacrificed one of his eyes to drink from the well of Mimir, which contained all the knowledge of the universe. This tells you everything you need to know about Odin's character. He would stop at nothing to gain an advantage, to see the future, and to prepare for the final, cataclysmic battle of Ragnarok. He wasn't just a king sitting on a throne. He was a relentless strategist, constantly wandering the 9 realms in disguise, gathering secrets and preparing for a war he knew was inevitable. Odin's power wasn't just in his knowledge. He wielded the legendary spear Gungnir, which was forged by dwarves and was said to never miss its target. He rode an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir, the fastest steed in all the realms, capable of galloping across the sky and through the underworld. Flanking him were his 2 ravens, Hugin and Munithod and Memory, who flew across the world each day to bring him news. His 2 wolves, Jerry and Freki, sat at his feet, and he gave them all his food, as he himself subsisted only on wine. Odin's power was subtle, intellectual, and far-reaching. He was a master of runes and spells, a shapeshifter and a divine puppeteer pulling the strings of fate. But his obsession with preventing Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world, often led him down dark paths, making deals and sacrifices that had unforeseen consequences, ultimately proving that even the wisest of gods cannot escape destiny. Now, let's turn to Odin's most famous son, a god whose name echoes like thunder, Thor. If Odin was the brains of Asgard, Thor was undoubtedly the brawn, the god of thunder, storms, and strength. Thor was the champion of mankind and the ultimate protector of Asgard. He was a straightforward warrior, less concerned with prophecy and schemes, and more focused on smashing any threat that dared to challenge the gods. With his fiery red hair and beard, and an immense appetite for food and drink, Thor was a figure of immense vitality and raw power. His primary weapon was the legendary hammer, Mjolnir. This wasn't just any hammer, forged by the same master dwarf blacksmiths. It would return to his hand after being thrown and could summon lightning and thunder. To wield it, he needed a special belt that doubled his strength and iron gloves to handle its immense power. Thor's adventures are the stuff of legend. He was constantly battling giants, the sworn enemies of the gods. One famous story tells of his journey to the land of the giants, where he was tricked by their king, god Loki. He was challenged to a drinking contest from a horn that was secretly connected to the sea, and he nearly drank the oceans dry. He wrestled with an old woman who was actually old age itself, a foe no one can defeat. And he tried to lift a giant cat, which was in reality Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent that encircles the world. Although he was tricked and failed these tests, the sheer scale of his attempts terrified the giants. Thor's power was so immense that he could challenge the very concepts of nature. He was a symbol of order against chaos, the dependable guardian whose hammer was the last line of defense for both gods and mortals. And now we come to the most complex and fascinating figure in the Norse pantheon, Loki. While often called Thor's brother in modern fiction, in mythology, his relationship is more complicated. He was the son of a giant, but through a blood oath, he became Odin's blood brother and lived among the Aesir gods in Asgard. Loki is the god of mischief, a trickster, a shapeshifter, and the catalyst for most of the major events in Norse mythology, both good and bad. He is brilliant, charming, and silver-tongued, but also petty, jealous, and ultimately destructive. Loki's nature is pure chaos. One day he might use his cunning to solve a problem the gods created, and the next, he'd be the one causing an even bigger disaster just for the fun of it. For instance, when a giant tricked the gods into a bad deal to build Asgard's wall, it was Loki who shapeshifted into a mare to distract the giant's magical stallion, saving the gods from ruin. But Loki's mischief had a dark side that grew over time. He was the father of 3 monstrous beings destined to bring about Ragnarok: the giant wolf Fenrir, the world-encircling serpent Jormungandr, and Hel, the ruler of the underworld. His pranks became increasingly malicious, culminating in the single most tragic event before Ragnarok, the death of Baldur. Baldur, the god of light and purity, was beloved by all. His mother Frigg made every single thing in creation promise not to harm him, everything except for the humble mistletoe. Loki, driven by jealousy, discovered this one weakness. He fashioned a spear from mistletoe and tricked the blind god Hadra into throwing it at Baldur, killing him instantly. This act crossed the line. It wasn't just a prank, it was a betrayal that shattered the joy in Asgard and sealed Loki's fate. The gods finally had enough. They captured Loki and bound him in a cave with the entrails of his own son, with a serpent dripping venom onto his face for all eternity. It is from this prison that he will break free at Ragnarok to lead the forces of chaos against the gods. So what can we learn from Odin, Thor, and Loki? Their stories show us a world where power is never simple. Odin's quest for wisdom highlights the immense sacrifices required for knowledge and control, and the futility of fighting fate. Thor represents the strength and courage needed to protect the world from chaos, but also shows that brute force isn't always enough. And Loki is the ultimate cautionary tale, a reminder that intelligence without morality and cleverness driven by envy can lead to ruin for everyone, including oneself. Together, they form a divine family whose strengths and fatal flaws drive the epic saga of Norse mythology, from its glorious beginning to its fiery end at Ragnarok. Their power was immense, but the peril was always just one step behind, born from their own actions and personalities. These gods weren't perfect. They were powerful, flawed, and deeply human in their passions and struggles, which is why their stories continue to thunder through our imagination even today. Thanks for joining us on this journey to Asgard. If you enjoyed this dive into mythology, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past. Let us know in the comments which god is your favorite. Until next time, stay curious.